Welcome friends, welcome back to the kitchen. Today I'm doing a stuffed turkey breast rolled up, turkey roulade perhaps some might call it. And so I deboned the turkey. So I've got all these turkey bones and I need to make a sauce or gravy, and I'm not committing to one or the other just yet. If I run out of time, it's going to be a gravy because I'm going to thicken it with flour. And if I have enough time for it to reduce properly, it's going to be a demi-glace. I'm really hoping I can get to demi-glace because I like that silky, rich feeling when you have it with the turkey. So I have the oven preheated to 475 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to roast these bones with some onions, celery, and carrots. But first I need to cut everything up a little bit smaller. You want as much surface area as possible so that you can get a really good roast on all of these things. Okay, I'll toss all of that into the roasting pan. And I've left the skins on the onions because that gives a really nice, deep, rich hint of color later on. And in goes the celery. Now we move on to the turkey bits. And in here I've got, this is rib cage and breastbone. This is some of the backbone, neck, all of the different parts. I'm going to break this down as small as I can in order to really get that surface area. So I've got a heavy knife that will cut through and break through the bones. This is where you use a beater knife or a cleaver. So pieces about that size into the pan. And so that's the last of the carcass. What I have left in here are the giblets, which are the heart and the lungs. And I'm just going to give them a rough chop just to help them brown a little bit the same way. Into the pan. I'm going to drizzle that with a little bit of oil. And mix it all up. Okay, so I'm going to pop this in the oven, and I'm going to let it go for probably about a half an hour, and then I'm going to stir it. And I'm going to continue stirring it every 15 or 20 minutes until it's a nice, deep golden brown. Now, I think that's roasty enough. And I forgot to mention, I threw in some little tomatoes. You can throw in tomatoes, tomato paste, just to give it a little bit more umami flavor. Now I'm going to transfer all of this into a stock pot, and I'm going to put the pot on to a low heat with just enough water to cover the bones. I'm going to bring that up to a high simmer, low boil. And the roasting pan, I'm going to heat that up and I'm going to deglaze it with a little bit of water. Though you could definitely use some white wine if you wanted to. Just scrape up all the fond. I think I've got all the bits off the bottom. So I'm going to pour this liquid into the stock pot with the rest of it. And I'm going to leave this on to boil for an hour and a half to 2 hours. I want to extract as much as I can out of those bones. Look at that liquid. Look how dark brown it is. It's going to be amazing. Now, of course, this is also the spot if you wanted to add in some fresh herbs and spices, go ahead. I hold off on salt until the very end, just so that it doesn't get over salty. Okay, this is looking great. My plan is I'm going to attempt to pour off the broth or the stock that we've made here without spilling all over the cooktop. And I've got a fine mesh strainer inside my saucier just to catch anything and everything that pours out. Now, if I don't get all the liquid, I'm not terribly worried because I'm going to put this stock pot back onto the stovetop. I'm going to put everything that came out into this fine strainer back in the pot. Then I'm going to add just as much water as I did last time. I'm going to put this back on and let it simmer for 2 to 3 hours with the lid on. And I'm going to make what's called a remoulage, which is the second stock. Now, the second stock isn't going to be as deep, rich, or flavorful, but it is a great starting point for most soups. So I'll put this into containers and I'll freeze it for later use. Meanwhile, with this pot, I'm going to bring it up to a simmer. Now, if I'd fully been thinking ahead, and if I really had the time, I would have put that into the refrigerator overnight and let the fat solidify so I could take all the fat off. I know fat is flavor. I'm not afraid of the fat. What I don't like is in this type of sauce, if the fat is too thick or there's too much fat, it coats the inside of your mouth and you don't get the full flavor. So in this case, for a gravy, you want to remove it because it's not bringing any flavor, it's dulling your senses. I'm going to do my best with a spoon and get it off the top. Now the sauce has reduced from about 8 cups of liquid to about 1.5 cups. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of a taste, and this is where we adjust the salt. Now if 1.5 cups of liquid isn't enough for you, yeah, you need some salt. You could take the liquid from your remoulade, put it in here and reduce it again to come up with something around 3 cups. It might not be as flavorful, but this is a flavor bomb. Now this is also the point where I'd splash in a little bit of vinegar or a little bit of white wine, just to bring a little bit of acidity, brighten the whole thing up. I'm going to go with vinegar today. And we'll just stir that in. That color is so deep, rich, and brown. Look at that. It's almost the color of a beef stock. Look at that. Absolutely amazing. Now, if that's not thick enough for you and you need thick grandma gravy, it's really easy to do. This is already hot. It's up to temperature. In this bowl, I have 2 tablespoons of melted butter. Just melted it in the microwave, and then I mixed in 2 tablespoons of flour. Now, it's got a fancy French name, beurre mayonnaise, but don't let that scare you. This is one of the best ways to thicken any sauce or stock or soup, because when you whisk it in a little bit at a time, I put in maybe a tablespoon at a time as you whisk it in. Don't make it too thick. But as that whisks in, it leaves a velvety, smooth, no clump gravy. It's great. So let's check our salt level. I think that, to me, is absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. So come on back for the next episode when I pull that turkey out and Julie and I try this sauce over the turkey. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.